How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
All right. So, what would you like to speak about?
Well, my introduction to you is that your background with us on the communicators has been one where you've given us a heads up on current events and things that we're seeing in the news and things that we aren't seeing. What should we be looking at as black people to basically live a better life in the meantime and ensure some things for our children and our grandchildren long term?
I find that to now be a very hard thing to discuss because I believe that the primary problem is that virtually everything that people think is happening isn't, and many things that they think are not happening are. So you can start almost anywhere, but let's just start with the presidency of the United States. If most people think that the primary concern today around the presidency is the election of 2020, it is not. Primary concern around the presidency of the United States today, as it has been for several years, is maintaining the coup against the presidency that occurred from 9/11. And what has happened is that because of the simple fact that the present occupant of the White House was not an original member of the earlier conspiracy, that occupant has been targeted in various ways, not because of great policies that he espoused, but merely because he was not part of that earlier establishment that created the coup against the president in 2001. So that's a very complicated thing to talk to people about. People just say, what did you just say? Why did you say it? Who? What? I don't understand. So I find it to be very difficult to give people any advice because as soon as you begin to talk about it, they are so baffled about everything you're saying that it becomes very difficult for them to know how to respond.
Got that, and as often as we've spoken, it is still something to process from a cognitive standpoint. I guess you call it cognitive dissonance. What we're getting in the media and what is explained to us by people like yourself. So let's go to the fact, well, if we can, let's go to the fact that the guy in the office now is an interloper. He's someone that came out of the blue into that position. And what has that created in terms of those who originated the coup against the presidency of the United States?
Well, I just go through, yes, you have to go back 20 years. You go back to the time of the Monica Lewinsky apparent affair. What actually had occurred there was that Clinton had attempted to broker a deal between Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin. Rabin was then the head of Israel. He, of course, Rabin had been a very ruthless military combatant against the Palestinians. So he was a trusted negotiator because he had had his earlier military record going back to the Intifada days of 1982 to battle the Palestinians. The deal got negotiated with Arafat, was done by Clinton, done in secret, starting in Oslo, Norway, and then brought into the White House. Handshake happened, and then Rabin got killed in November of 1995. From that time, the presidency of the United States became a target for a combination of intelligence agencies, including Israeli intelligence and British intelligence, most emphatically and specifically. The personages that are easiest to identify who were involved in that, although they were not the controlling interests, are those around Robert Maxwell I just said to today for a moment is when you look at the Epstein affair and the identification of Clinton in the Epstein affair, you're actually looking at what was done to Clinton with respect to Monica Lewinsky back in the mid-1990s. So the headlines of today about Epstein and who was there, who wasn't, and how many times Clinton was on the plane, blah, blah, all of that is only understandable with respect to what happened in retaliation to what Clinton tried to do in the mid-90s. From that time, of course, his presidency was taken apart. Remember that Bill Clinton actually was impeached. That actually did happen to him. And so the process of impeachment they're talking about today around Donald Trump is of the exact same order as the process of impeachment against Bill Clinton 20 years early. So that's why things get so complicated because, for example, you said, just a moment, Brother Leroy, that there was an interloper who came out of the blue. Well, he didn't come out of the blue. He was part of, shall we say, a certain financial establishment that exists. So it's not like he's just this maverick, lone, whatever. That's not true either. But what is true is that there was no expectation that he would actually win the White House. There were people that were deployed.
And this is Dennis Speed of the LaRouche Group. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Okay. So here's what the standpoint of African Americans. Let's just talk about that right now. Or of course, African Americans. Let's just say something here. The issue is, since 1998, the presidency of the United States has been under receivership. And the presidency of the United States was placed under receivership under Bill Clinton. Everybody that has occupied that presidency, inclusive of Barack Obama and George W. Bush Jr., these people were there as part of a policy. The policy was to try to act on behalf of the idea of the United States as the new world hegemon. We're going to run everything. We're going to run it through our military, through our globally extended military bases, and our financial apparatus. That's what it was supposed to be. What happened was, in 2007 and 2008, a crack appeared in the ceiling in the form of what people today call the Great Recession of 2007-2008. But when that crack appeared in the ceiling and it appeared that the entire financial apparatus would come apart, there was a shift in the strategy, not a shift in the sense of the objectives, just a shift in the strategy. And Barack Obama was placed in there as a way of trying to shore up and shift the financial apparatus largely into exploitation of places like Africa and other areas of the globe. That's what the Obama administration was actually about and nothing else. So this is why this is so complicated to talk about, because people have been brought up to believe various illusions about this entire period. And as a consequence, then you're supposed to take a stand around Donald Trump. Well, is he the devil incarnate? Is he just arch racist? Is he not that? Is he making America great again? You're supposed to get involved in this whole narrative without understanding what the actual circumstances of the United States became. There's one final thing, I know I've gone on there, but the final piece that has to be put into this about the new change that happened in 2013. So you had 1998, you talked about Clinton, then you had 9/11, that was 2001. We all know about Bush, the two terms there. Then you had 2007, 2008, and the crisis there, which was the financial crisis. But then something else happened in 2013. And what that was that the nation of China emerged as the primary economic power on the face of the earth. Economic power, not financial power, economic power. And that meant its physical productivity, its ability to produce manufactured goods, semi-finished goods, etc. and the ability of that nation to finance itself and to build itself, had China emerged the same way that the United States emerged between about 1878 and 1929, when the United States emerged as the new great power in the world. The Chinese emerged as the new great power in the world as of 2013, and they made a speech. Xi Jinping made a speech September of that year, in which he said that the United States, it was directed to Barack Obama, we wish to work with you on what we call a win-win strategy. It's called win-win because the Chinese recognized they would be seen as the primary competitor, otherwise, to the United States and to the power domination, the globally extended power of the United States. And they didn't want to get into a war with the United States because, from a military standpoint, the United States can still obliterate all nations on the face of the earth. And although it is declining rapidly, it is still too much of a threat. So the Chinese approach was what they called win-win. We don't talk about what's wrong with you. You buy products from us. You get to have your act back together on manufacturing. We walk down the aisle together. We both understand that we're not necessarily friends, but we are going to try to do something vis-a-vis other sections of the world that benefits us both. So that's what's been happening. And so I just will say, and I realize I'm talking on and on, but I'm doing it because unless I do that, then anything I would say or to try to say about the so-called realities of today would be based on falsehoods that I find that people just accept, go along with, repeat, talk about, and then try to build theory based on a series of false assumptions. I just don't do it.
Brother Dennis, you've touched on a number of things, as you know. The one thing that China being the economic power today, this is a question. That's a miscalculation on the part of those people who constructed NAFTA?
No, what happened with China was this. Remember, they went through the Great Leap Forward in the 1950s and lost about 25 million people in that. That was when they tried to radically industrialize. That was under Mao, and it caused a lot of problems for him. Mao then, in order to stay in power, initiated the Cultural Revolution. That was 1967. Now, there are various figures about how many people died and whatever during that, but it was a major upheaval for Chinese society. Then, at about the time when Mao died in 1976, there was a shift where Deng Xiaoping comes in and says, well, you know what? These things aren't working too well for us. Let's try some form of enlightened capitalism, but it's going to have Chinese characteristics and even continent characteristics. And there's a long story about what happened between 76 and now, but one thing I can tell you about is that in 1993, okay, this is skipping a lot, but when there was a opening up of China after, remember all of what happened, right? Tiananmen Square of 1989, June 4th. Then you had the fall of the Berlin Wall in November of that same year, 1989, 30 years ago. Coming up on the 30th anniversary of that. Then you had the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the Chinese, looking at this process, realized, wait a minute, if we don't come up with a way to actually solve our problem internally, we're going to end up with the United States or Great Britain or somebody doing to us what was done to the Soviet Union, which was to loot the hell out of it between 1991 and 1999 when Vladimir Putin then came into power and stopped that. So the Chinese have been through the whole thing with the British around the Opium Wars, been through the whole thing with the British around Hong Kong. They've been through various forms of occupation for a long, long time. So they said, now we're going to avoid that completely. We're not going to allow that to happen. So what they began doing was an internal reconstruction. And in the course of that, they talked to many people, including Lyndon LaRouche and his wife, Eldestep LaRouche. So we were very involved in talking to the Chinese from 1993 about what they wanted to do. There was not full agreement with us. There was not full agreement, as far as I know, with anybody. So if you went and talked to them, you gave them ideas, they did consider them, but it didn't mean that they were adopting what you were saying either. In our case, it was an idea called the New Silk Road. We created that idea. The Chinese, of course, had the idea because they had the old Silk Road. So we said New Silk Road just made sense to them. That meant that you had to have investment in heavy industry, mining, manufacturing, and agriculture, and you had to build individual, privately owned and operated businesses, which the state might coordinate the production of it and so on, but you had to give people individual capability to innovate and to advance on the not even called micro level, but the smaller level. Because remember, China's got now almost 1.5 billion people. So you're talking about a country which is almost has almost as many people in it as the whole world had in it in 1945. Okay, so we recognized that they adopted a large portion of what we proposed to them at the time, and they began their march from that time then, 1993 I'm talking about, 25 years it's been. And what they did is they took 700 million people out of poverty. And that is what makes the Chinese not just competitive, but they have the best manufacturing capability in the world today, bar none.
So Dennis, the recommendations of the focus on industry is reflective of the position that LaRouche Group has taken, advising the American government, the American companies, to do the same thing, to reconstitute the industrial aspect of the United States that's been abandoned. Are we correct on that?
That's right, but we ran into that thing that the last poets talked about. The white man's got a guy complex. That's what we ran into. So they wouldn't listen. The idea from here, the same exact thing was proposed here for these people to do here. But they had a whole other thing. No, we're going to be the hegemon. It's just going to be us. That was the whole neocon thing, of course, that got said right after the fall of the Soviet Union. So they went with that. And what they did was they created this they already had a globally extended military presence, but then they just got into this thing about perpetual war. That the way to rule was the way that the Romans tried to do it, perpetual war. So the purpose of the wars was not even that you made money from the wars. The purpose of the wars was that you kept countries subjugated and that you powered it by the military production so that people who were local, they were making money from the military. But what you were doing is you were controlling the monetary policy, the financial policy. In other words, the stock market and then the derivatives and all this. And then this is going to go into the area of cyber currency and cryptocurrency and da-da-da. And see, as long as you could run that, you could have an imperial control. Now, they learned this. This did not originate in the United States. It originated in the city of London, which had been doing that from 1945. From after the Second World War. And what happened was that the Americans were, for a long time, and they were in opposition to that for other reasons. In 1971, under Nixon, it all became one thing. So where these guys got their concept of this came from the British Empire, which, remember, up until 1945 was the largest empire in human history. So that's where it came from, but it came around this racial thing. And the concept of, they have many names for it, right? The English-speaking Union, many other names. And so their conception around the Chinese is the one you know. Yellow peril, right? And all that kind of thing. They're not going to make a deal with the Chinese under any circumstance. But what they don't get is, if you stay with that policy, you will collapse the internal structure of the United States, and that's what they're doing.
Wait, just repeat that.
Yeah, what they're going to do, they're collapsing the internal structure of the United States. That's what you see all over this country. You see massive illiteracy, the massive drug addiction. What they're doing is they're basically depopulating the U.S., just like they're depopulating other parts of the globe. See, the concept of depopulation was, yes, of course, directed at black people, but what nobody ever thought was, what if that concept of depopulation is directed against Americans also?
For what?
The concept is, yeah, you just take over the globe and get rid of as many people as you can get rid of, starting with your own people.
Wait a minute. What's the benefit of their depopulating America?
There's no benefit to depopulating any place. The whole point is that it's mad. The whole thing is insane. And what people say to me whenever I say this, well, wait a minute, you mean, how could they be doing something that's insane? Don't they want to have power? Hey, Rome was insane, and it had power. I mean, the Roman Empire was at its biggest extent in 117 AD. That's after they had Caligula, Nero, Septimus Severus, all those crazy people. See, so what goes on is there's something called criminal insanity. And what you're dealing with when you're looking at the city of London, and you're looking at people that for example, the people in the Obama and Bush administration was criminal insanity. So what is there a benefit? Well, they don't think there's a benefit, or they look at it like this. We run the monetary system. We run the financial system. We don't really care whether or not people are producing for us or not, as long as we run the money, because everybody needs money. There's 1.5 billion people in China. There's 1.2 billion people in India. Right? There's plenty of people around. There's going to be 2 billion. There's a 1.2 billion people in Africa. So all we really need is we can import whatever we need. What we want to do is to have a depopulation for the globe. And if that also affects the people in our country, we don't care.
Okay, supposing someone with a narrow point of view say the object of depopulating America is targeted against black people, but in the process of going after black people, the collateral damage to Caucasians is all right with the ones who run this thing.
The problem involves, because the problem involved is that the problem involved in all of this is that, see, black people are always targeted. That's always the case. And is the case right now concerning Africa as well. But there's something else that's happened. The emergence of China, what it has done. Think about the role of China in Africa. The role of China in Africa.
Dennis, you got to go back a minute and a half because your voice got distant. I need you to talk right into the phone.
Okay, I can try to make this point as best I can. The idea is this: since the period of the 1970s, people will remember the book The Choice by Sam Yet. Okay?
The Choice, the issue of black survival in America.
Yeah, right. And remember that what said at the top of that is that the black man has become obsolete in today's America.
Right.
That's what's on the cover of The Choice. Right? Why was the black man obsolete? Because there was no longer a desire for labor, for manufacturing labor, for mining, so forth and so on. That's why. If you look at today's America, how much manufacturing, what percentage of the workforce is involved in mining, manufacturing, and agriculture? It's now about 17% or 18%. If you go back to 1960, there was the combination between agriculture and mining and manufacturing was that 57% of the workforce was involved in those areas. So you have 57% versus 17%. So what does that tell you? It's not merely the south side of Chicago. it's not merely the best establishment to East New York, but it's all those little places outside of Akron, Ohio, and outside of Indiana and Appalachia. All those places, wherever you find massive opioid addiction, out of those little places in New Hampshire and so on, that's what you're talking about. That's what you're talking about. That's the long-term effect of policy. So, of course, as you point out, the policy was intended to go after black people first, yes, and it did. But it's like the drugs. Same thing with the drugs problem. You see, these policies are actually mad. They don't do what the people who think they don't, who propose them, they don't get the result they think they're going to get. Just like Hitler didn't get that result in the case of Nazi Germany. He had a conception. They implemented a conception, but they got a different result. That's what's happened to America. That's what's happened as of now to America.
Brother Dennis.
And that's where we are. Yeah.
Okay. So what do we? How do we, in light of what you know, your nieces and nephews, etc., young teenagers in their 20s, 30s coming up. So how do you guide them, for the present?
Well, here's the problem. You have to tell people the brutal truth and then see if they're prepared to act. That's how you guide them. So here's the brutal truth. The brutal truth is that Donald Trump, for reasons which are not entirely clear, is seen as public enemy number one by a financial establishment which had a completely different plan that did not include him. As a result of that, chaos has broken out within their ranks. But that chaos exists simultaneously with a very advanced Chinese, as well as even an advanced and enlightened Russian capability. That's why Trump was gone after on Russiagate. Not because he did anything, but because it was precisely the alliance he was talking about with Putin and Xi Jinping that was going to give the United States economic breathing space. Now, Trump was doing it because he doesn't understand the nuances of this whole establishment. He's not interested in it. He's not interested in the theory of it all. See, that doesn't move him. That's not part of his team. He doesn't do that. But to stop this, he's an obstacle. So how do I guide people? Here's what the government should do. Well, of course, I'm in an organization. I've had executive intelligence review for a long time. I say, first of all, disabuse yourself of your romance about the Democratic and Republican parties. Neither of them even exist, let alone are the key to your survival. Forget it. Now, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't vote. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't act. But you got to pick policy matters around which you can create a combination of powers. And these are called the four powers in my particular case, which are Russia, China, India, and the United States. It's in those four locations that the power presently resides. Where's the theater where these powers intend to come together, one way or the other, for good or bad? The continent of Africa. Why? Because the continent of Africa is going to have between 2 and 2.5 billion people by 2050. So everybody knows that the future of the entire globe is going to be determined by what goes on in Africa. Therefore, what you should do is, in recognizing this, is two things. Number one, we suggest that you form organizations, we call them the Committees of Correspondence, which are pre-revolutionary organizations. This doesn't mean you're about to have a revolution in the United States, but it means that there's a possibility of changing the power relationships because Trump is not part of it. He plays a role. He plays a very limited role. But be ready to move into areas like Africa and other places and advocate economic development. Advocate the idea of physical productivity in manufacturing, in mining, in agriculture. Get yourselves involved in that kind of activity. Get out of focus on Democratic and Republican politics and such, and go to our website. The LaRouche PAC, the LaRouche Political Action Committee is one way that people should certainly do things. But the main thing is disabuse yourself of the illusion that you are either living in a democracy when you are living in a situation of a state of need. And secondly, that the present set of financial arrangement is in any way going to survive. We could be looking at something way beyond what happened in 2007, 2008, coming up within the next 1 to 2 years. So get yourself prepared, because that's the way it is, as the man used to say on CBS.
My brother, we look forward to having you back. I'll take one question from the table. No question.
He talked about the.
Got to speak up.
He talked about the change of policy. He said the 4 countries. He said China, India, United States, and what's the other one?
Okay, right. Here's what's up with that. Take a look at who is going into space. Take a look at the fact that the Indians, right, just had that mission with their Chandrayaan-2, it was called, just 2 weeks ago. They had almost 500 million people watching that thing. Okay, they land on the moon. They do. There's a problem. There's a crash landing of their vehicle, but they still have this orbiter. So you look at them. Now you already know the Chinese are doing it. You hear about that all the time. Then you know the United States has been shooting stuff up there forever now, or seems like, last 50 years. And Russia, of course, has the International Space Station. Why is this relevant? These are countries that are pursuing areas of technology and technological invention and innovation, which are going to define the entirety of the next roughly 100 years. Japan's in there too. And a couple of other people try to hang out in that community. You have the European Space Agency, which kind of does a few things. But those 4 powers are dealing in technologies that Africans and black people need to be in the forefront of, as Sheikh Anta Diop stated in his Black Africa, the economic basis for a federated state. The book he wrote at the very end of his life in the 1970s. And if you look in that book, you'll see that he has a whole section on advanced technologies. Particularly, he talked about thermonuclear fusion technology, fission technology. His argument is Africa has to have educational institutions that teach that, and that they allow people to become engineers and scientists at the same rate that the others do. So if the Chinese offer that, get involved with that. If others offer it, get involved with that. So that's an indication of what I mean. Matter of fact, 3 weeks from now, NASA's going to have it with an international Watch the Moon or Lunar Day or whatever. This is something we need to get black children involved in so that they can get in touch with the people to change the next 100 years. That's one example of it.
So you got the 4 countries?
No.
No, what's the 4 countries?
4 countries that are in space.
You said India?
United States, Russia, China, India. Count it up, right? 350 million people in the United States. Russia, low population, a couple hundred million, 250 million. China, 1.4 billion. India, 1.2 billion. Now, if you look at the nation, the continent of Africa, that's got 1.3 billion right now.
So, Dennis, to support your point and Giap's point about the technology and science among black people, is the fact that we are the most creative people in the world. And once we get something, we take it to 2, 3, 4, 5 levels above where we got it. Therefore,
the natural group of people to make revolutions in science and technology in the world today is in Africa. The median age in Africa is 19 years. The median age in the United States is 38 years.
Wow.
okay, so what would your last question? What would your directive be to young brothers and sisters, black men and women, pursuing what you call social science work, working among the people. What books would you advise? What would you advise them to do that you know they're not getting from an NYU, that they're not getting from a Stanford? That kind of self-education outside of that really frees the black man and woman's mind up.
Yeah, I would have everybody who's in any form of social work get out of it immediately. Get out of it immediately. Don't do anything in it. Go into physics. Go into but you have to watch out. Physics and economics and mathematics. Go there. Go to engineering.
Wait. You said
agriculture.
Hey, wait. We got some scientists at the table. I need you to go back to your recommendations. First thing you said, physics.
That's right.
Go ahead.
I said physics, I said engineering. Look,
I'm sorry.
these people intend to basically build an entire economy based on space, okay? On what's called cislunar space and also above the Earth forms of manufacturing and mining. They're going to basically go to the moon and mine something called helium-3. And helium-3 is going to be used over the arc of the next 75 years as the fuel for thermonuclear fusion power plants, which the Chinese are working on big time, the United States should be working on. Nobody's talking about this stuff. Nobody's going to tell you about it. These are the areas to go into, or rather to investigate. Now, this happens to be stuff that LaRouche did for a long time. So what are the areas? So, for example, let's take something like physics. You're going to read in that. You have to read certain people. Kepler is important because he must understand who actually invented the laws of gravitation. That was not Newton. It was Kepler. Newton didn't know anything whatsoever. So there's Kepler. There is Gauss, Carl Friedrich Gauss, who was a follower of Kepler. Then there was Bernard Riemann, who was the father of relativity theory that Einstein followed. So, I mean, black people know anything? No, of course not. That's not even taught. But I know how you can learn. I mean, we've taught that there are people. We had something called the basement team for a very long time. It's the scientific team. And there's a bunch of young people involved in it. And the reason I said the thing about Africa and young people, yeah, you get a hold of some 16, 17, 18-year-olds. The way that you do it is you have them start by doing their own experiments. Like, for example, proving the existence of the solar year by going up every morning, getting up, putting rocks down, looking at where the sun comes up, looking at where it is at high noon, and looking at where it goes down. You do that for a period, just every day, for a couple of years, and you'll be able to understand how the solar calendar works, the solar process works. These are the kinds of things that we have to do with our kids. Working with the telescope, working with creating telescopes, things which are hands-on. Working with things like the so-called Platonic solids. You know, people talk about this thing about Plato and Pythagoras, and these are, of course, the things from the temple of Ammon from Cyrenaic Egypt. Yeah, okay, but can you construct these? Giving the classes on the construction. This is stuff that we did, Brother Leroy, starting back in the 1980s, because we recognized that unless we could actually demonstrate what the science was, while we could tell people about the ancient Egyptian sciences as we know they existed, and were taught way before Pythagoras. We're talking about at least 1200, 1400 BC, but even that was the latter stages of the Cyrenaic and Temple of Ammon science. They got that stuff into Europe, which Pythagoras, remember, when he learned it, dealt with it as secret knowledge. Because if it weren't dealt with as secret knowledge, he would die if you revealed it to people. Okay? Because there was that level of hostility to the advanced ideas of the Temple of Ammon and other locations that were so important. So the thing I would do, first thing I would do is teach this kind of thing to kids. And you can do it in a rigorous way. You can do it in a way that would pass muster in any college course in physics. Mathematics is a little bit of a different thing. You got to do some different things for that, but you can do it even with that. I mean, that's what I can say about it right now.
Brother Dennis Speed of the Lyndon LaRouche Group. Want to thank you very much. What's the website and when do you have meetings in New York?
All right, well, let me say a few things about that quickly. The LaRouche Pact. And now, see, but let me actually go to LaRouche Hub is better because, see, where people should go, my view would be, go there for the purpose of looking at archived material. That's going to be the best stuff from us that you can get. And I guess what I can do, here's what I should do, Brother Leroy. I should look up, because some of the stuff is not online, it's not as accessible as it used to be. We did a whole book called The Industrialization of Africa, which was done like 40 years ago, and then we updated it, and we just did 2 new reports. There's a report actually that just got written by a brother named Hussein Askari, and I think Jason Ross did it also. He also reported portions of it about extending. I think it's called extending the New Silk Road into Africa, Asia and Africa, West Asia and Africa. So there's things like that I just have to find. But the LaRouche Hub, P-U-B, is probably the best place to go. The LaRouche Pact will have some things on it. And then otherwise, people can get in touch with me at DennisHSpeed@yahoo.com. Dennis, H for Henry, Speed@yahoo.com, all one word. And,
Okay.
I can put a kind of list together for you.
Okay, that's your email, Dennis H. Speed
At yahoo.com.
at Yahoo. Okay, my brother, thank you
Yeah.
very much. I know you have another meeting. God bless you and your family.
Thank you, sir. Peace, everybody.
Thank you.